After 10 years, my family excluded me from our reunion. Their faces turned pale when they saw my house. I grew up believing that family was supposed to be a safe place, somewhere you belong no matter what. But in my family, I was always the disappointment. My name is Emma Carter, youngest of 3 siblings, the so-called black sheep. From the very beginning, I was treated differently. My older brother Daniel was the golden child, athletic, charming, the future businessman of the family. My sister Claire was the princess, talented, adored, showered with praise for the smallest things. And me? I was just there. When I was 10, my parents missed my school play because Daniel had a basketball game. When I was 15, they didn't come to my art exhibition because Claire had a piano recital. And when I was 18 and begged them to support me through college, my father's exact words were, "We've already invested in your brother and sister. You'll figure something out. You're not really the academic type anyway." I remember the lump in my throat, the way my hands shook as I clutched the rejection letter from my dream university, not because I wasn't accepted, but because I couldn't afford to go without their help. That night, while my siblings laughed in the living room about their futures, I sat on the edge of my bed and realized something. If I was going to have a future, I'd have to build it myself. Part 2, leaving it all behind. 2 weeks after graduation, I packed my entire life into 2 suitcases. No one stopped me, no one begged me to stay. My parents didn't even come downstairs when I walked out the door. I left our small town with nothing but $300 from my part-time diner job and a promise to myself I would never crawl back. The first years were brutal. I worked 3 jobs, waitressing by day, delivering groceries in the evening, cleaning offices at night. There were times I ate instant noodles for weeks just to pay rent. But every spare hour I had, I studied. I taught myself coding, web design, and digital marketing. At first, it was just small freelance gigs, making websites for local shops, creating logos for startups. But then, word spread. Clients referred me to other clients. One website turned into 10, then into 50. By the time I was 24, I had registered my own company. By 27, I had employees. And by 30, I was running a multi-million-dollar tech empire. All the years of being overlooked had hardened me, sharpened me, and turned me into someone they would no longer recognize. But I stayed quiet. I didn't post about my life online. I didn't show off. My siblings never bothered to check in anyway, and my parents only sent the occasional impersonal Christmas card. To them, I was gone, forgotten, and that was fine, because I was busy building something far greater than their approval. Part 3, the reunion. 10 years passed before I heard from them again. One morning, scrolling through my email, I noticed something odd, a message forwarded to me by mistake. It was from Claire, sent to Daniel and my parents. The subject line, family reunion, next month. They were planning a grand get-together. Everyone would be there. Everyone. Except me. My name wasn't on the guest list. I read through the email twice, feeling that familiar sting of rejection rise up in my chest. Even after all these years, they still saw me as the outsider. For a moment, I thought about deleting it and moving on. But then, a different thought struck me. What if I showed up? What if the forgotten daughter, the disappointment, the failure they had cast aside, walked back into their lives not as the weak girl they remembered, but as the woman I had become? The idea planted itself in my mind like a seed, and the more I thought about it, the more it grew. This time, I wouldn't be the one left speechless. This time, they would be. Part 4, the arrival. The reunion was scheduled for a Saturday evening in late summer. They had rented out a country hall in the old town square, the same place where my brother's wedding had been held, the same hall I was never invited to. When the day arrived, I didn't send a message, I didn't call. I simply stepped into the backseat of my car, sleek, black, and quiet as power itself, and told my driver to take me there. The ride felt like a lifetime. Every turn down the familiar streets brought back memories I thought I'd buried. The diner where I had once washed dishes, the bookstore where I used to dream of a life I thought I could never have. As we pulled Up, I could see the warm glow of lights spilling from the windows of the hall. Laughter drifted out, loud and careless. My siblings were inside, surrounded by family, no doubt telling stories about their wonderful lives. I walked in. The laughter stopped. It was as if someone had cut the sound out of the room. Forks froze midair. My sister's eyes went wide. My brother nearly dropped his drink. My mother's painted smile faltered. "Emma?" Claire stammered, clutching her pearls as if she'd seen a ghost. Daniel gave a nervous chuckle. "Well, look who decided to show up." My father cleared his throat, the same way he always did when he was uncomfortable. I smiled politely. "I thought I'd stop by. After all, family should be together. Right?" Part 5. Tension at the table. They hadn't planned for me. That much was obvious. There was no seat for me at the table, no plate, not even a spare glass. My mother whispered something to my father, and a chair was awkwardly dragged from the corner. I sat down, perfectly composed. Claire launched into a story about her new boutique. Daniel bragged about his investments. My parents laughed a little too loudly, filling the air with forced cheer. Nobody asked me a single question. I sipped my wine in silence, observing. The more they talked, the more obvious it became that they weren't as successful as they wanted everyone to believe. Daniel complained about debt. Claire mentioned her boutique was still finding footing. My parents worried about retirement funds, and I sat there, holding the truth like a hidden card. Finally, I leaned forward, resting my elbows on the table. "You know," I said, my voice calm but sharp enough to cut through the noise, "I would have loved to host this reunion. I actually have plenty of space." They blinked at me, confused, nervous. "What do you mean?" my mother asked, forcing a laugh. I smiled. "Why don't you come see?" Part 6. The mansion. They followed me out, whispering to each other. My driver opened the car door and their eyes widened at the sleek leather interior. The ride to my house was silent. No one knew what to say. When the gates opened, jaws dropped. The mansion rose out of the night, like something out of a dream. Glass walls reflected the moonlight, gardens stretched wide and flawless, and the infinity pool shimmered like liquid silver. My sister's face turned pale. My brother muttered, This can't be real." As they stepped out, they stood frozen, staring at the towering house in disbelief. "This is yours?" my mother finally whispered. "Yes," I said, unlocking the door with a fingerprint scan. "All mine. Built it without anyone's help." Inside, their silence grew heavier. Crystal chandeliers glowed above them. Art lined the walls. The air itself smelled like wealth and peace. They wandered through the rooms like lost children, touching the marble counters, staring at the city view from the glass balcony, whispering things they thought I couldn't hear. 10 years ago, she had nothing. How did she do this? We thought she'd fail. I let them drink it all in. Part 7. The truth revealed. Finally, in the grand living room, I sat down while they remained standing, pale and restless. "Funny," I said softly. 10 years ago, you all decided I wasn't worth inviting to anything. Not birthdays, not weddings, not even this reunion. You forgot about me." No one spoke. I leaned back, crossing my legs. But I didn't forget. I remembered every word. Every time you said I'd never make it. Every time you turned your backs on me. Claire opened her mouth, but no sound came out. Daniel shifted uncomfortably. My father looked away. My mother's face was drained of color. "The thing is," I continued, my voice calm, steady, powerful. "I didn't need your approval. I didn't need your money. I built this life on my own. While you were busy excluding me, I was building something greater than anything you could imagine." Their silence was the sweetest revenge I had ever tasted. Part 8. The final blow. I stood and walked toward the door. "You can stay for the evening. I've had guest rooms prepared, but remember this." I turned, locking eyes with each of them. "You didn't want me in your family." Now you're the one standing in mine. Their faces said it all. Pale, defeated, regretful. For the first time in my life, I was the one in control. And as I left them standing in the grand living room of the house they never believed I could build, I realized something. The real revenge wasn't my success. It was their realization that they had lost me forever.